We got some retro-themed mini devices today. The Anbernic RG28XX versus the Miyoo A30. Both of these come in at around the same price point. We're going to take a quick look and see which one might be right for you, if either at all, or do you pick up something like the brand new clamshell from Anbernic. But there have been some meaningful quality of life updates since I started testing these devices weeks ago now. The brightness now is fixed for the Miyoo A30, so it is very close to the 28XX. The footage that you're about to see was filmed before that update, so take that into account. All right, enough of my yapping. Let's hop in. All right, and we have our two competitors here, the A30 and the 28XX. 28XX was sent over for review from Anbernic, and I have one on the way to review from GoGameGeek for the A30, but this one I did buy. Right off the bat, I want to compare this colorway to the Aveeno baby lotion. People keep saying this, but look, the Aveeno lotion is a little more yellow, okay? Here's the orange colorway. But both of these colors look really nice, and I just love these purple buttons. Face buttons are a little small for my liking, but they work. Shoulders are clicky. Front buttons here are rubber membrane. Nice, smooth matte plastic on the back. L1, R1, L2, R2 feel good. D-pad has a really nice pivot to it. That feels great. Start and select, just a little clicky. Down below you have two micro SD card slots, 3.5 headphone out, 3100 milliamp hour battery. All right, and looking at the Miyoo A30, bigger face buttons, I like that. D-pad is really loose, has a joystick there that clicks in, that's good. Quiet, top clicky buttons for the shoulders. And this one has a 2600 milliamp hour battery, a little less there, and minimal branding. Home button, just love the matte plastic on here. On the bottom, you have one micro SD card slot, and then your power button on the right. Clicky start and select, and then those mushy rubber membrane face buttons feel great. Stick is recessed, seems to feel okay. Now, these buttons feel nice on the 28XX, but again, very small face buttons. You have that function menu button on the top, which is kind of awkwardly placed for any hotkey stuff. Time for comparisons. So here's the RG28M, and this is their last 2.8-inch screen, but a metal shell, little heavy. And here's a lineup there. There's the Q90 on top from Powkitty. Let's take a look at software. And it leaves a lot to be desired here. The Onion team took this software originally and made it way more awesome, but I do like some of the customization options. Stay tuned for RA30 from Jim Gray. That's going to be a modified stock very soon. And likewise on the 28XX, I'm finding the stock software on here to be pretty serviceable and working right out the gate. So you have your usual options here in the stock OS. Check out our many other videos on the stock software for the H700 chips here. And trying out some Captain Skyhawk, test out this D-pad and face buttons. And yeah, this is really feeling accurate. This is a tough game to not die in, so this is pulling off well. Trying out some Dolphin Blue and a Thomas Wave here, and this feels really nice. Again, face buttons for my comically large thumbs are a little tiny, but I'm not finding myself cramping. And in my testing in the last few weeks, I have had to take minimal breaks when using this. Now, looking at N64, we're going to look at just some Mario Kart here. And N64 on the A30 right off the bat is performing very poorly. We're not able to hit full frames. But if you overclock this and you mess with the configs, you can get admirable frame rates in many of the games, and you have a stick here, so it just makes it a better N64 function-wise. And realize you're going to have to map your joystick to the D-pad in many games for N64 on the 28XX, but the performance is so much better on here. Right out the gate, it just works. But not all games are going to be playable due to the fact that you're not having a joystick, and you're going to need that in some titles. Now, trying out some PSP on the A30. PSP actually runs really well on here. I was surprised. Now, there are some graphical glitches I'm seeing, like that black ominous blob around Mega Man there. But, PSP isn't the greatest on either of these devices for the simple fact that the screen is so small and you're losing screen space on the top and the bottom because of the PSP 16:9 aspect ratio. Speaking of aspect ratio, both of these devices are having a 4:3 aspect ratio. Looking at viewing angles here with Mega Man powered up, viewing angles are pretty poor on both of these devices. And I'm noticing the A30 getting pretty warm in the back. Yikes. So there is a video filter turned on by default for SNES, and so you're going to want to go in here and turn that 2x filter off, and then you'll be good to go on SNES. And there's options here to change your colors, illumination, hue, saturation, and contrast. So you can kind of tune the screen to how you like. And I love that fact about all of Miyoo's devices, this one included, can really make that screen pop, customizing it like that. And retro achievements work. So you have Wi-Fi on here. In my testing, they weren't always triggering correctly every time, and I don't know if that's a weak Wi-Fi chip or not hitting my router well, but I just didn't see them showing up on the Retro Achievements website. Now, trying out some Pico 8 here on the 28XX. This is Cosmic Collapse, an awesome title, highly recommend. And that looks great on the screen. I'm stretching it a little bit here, please forgive me, but I thought it filled the screen well. Now trying out some schmups and some vertical arcade here. So there you go. The L1 button actually is default as another shooting option when you're in vertical mode there. Now taking a look at some custom firmware, muOS is an awesome option. The new Beans edition is just really nice. There's some cool, unique features that you don't see in these other firmwares, including stock. Very simple. You can get box art in here now, though. I don't have it scraped here, but you can get it if you want. And another custom firmware I've been enjoying is Knulli. This is based off Batacera, and you have all your usual emulation station options here that you can mess with. This one's still an alpha, a little rough around the edges, and I found it you need to configure stuff a bit more to get it how you want, but it looks nice, and I love the UI on here. So this is one I'm going to be following to see as it develops. But yeah, Donkey Kong Country looks well on here and is paced well. SNES really has been pretty flawless on the 28XX overall. And checking out Pepsi Man for PS1. Man, PS1 scales really nicely on the screen. Any PS1 game that works okay without having DualShock or the sticks works pretty well. Going back to stock OS here, playing the same game, pacing and graphics and everything looks exactly the same, so that is good to see. And trying out Street Fighter Third Strike, get some Hadoukens in. The D-pad feels nice, but I wouldn't say it's flawless either, just because it's so small. So my large thumbs had a little bit of a tough time there. Likewise, on the Miyoo A30, I'm able to hit some Hadoukens, but not as accurately as I have on some bigger devices. But this is definitely just too loose. Okay, now trying out Dreamcast. And Dreamcast has been running without any issue. And it's cool because the rumble and haptics work really well. And this is a good system to kind of show off those haptics. But not seeing performance issues with Dreamcast. You kind of know what you're getting with the Allwinner H700 chipset. You have that in the 35XX Plus and the SP and the H. And looking at some other systems here, the stock OS has nice scraped box art, by the way, if you stick with the ROMs that they ship with. Trying out some PS1 on the A30. Twisted Metal 2, one of my all-time favorite games, definitely all-time favorite car combat game. And I'm pulling off some of those Twisted Metal moves with no issue. So it kind of feels similar to a PS1 D-pad in a way, but just a little looser. You're going to have to make some changes if your joystick isn't working. I noticed in some systems, the joystick just is not configured yet. So you're going to have to map and get that going for yourself. So I found the software and the stock software to be kind of a mess. Again, they've released an update, but it hasn't fixed everything, but at least the brightness is good. So once you get everything mapped, then the joystick should work, and you can enjoy games like Pac-Man. Yes. Well, this has just been a very quick look and comparison of these two handhelds, and I think we're going to wrap up. Well, what do you guys think of the 28XX and the Miyoo A30? Is there one that pulled ahead for you? Certainly the 28XX in almost all regards is winning for me. Miyoo A30 is nice for some PS1 games, but look at that frame counter. N64 just runs pretty terribly without doing some intense overclocking, messing with the configuration. So it is not ideal. I do like that there's been meaningful updates to this, and now that the brightness issue is fixed, it does help it pull ahead for general, retro gaming and having the brightness correct so you can play outside. But 28XX in all other ways for me, from pocketability to performance, is the clear winner, and I'm really enjoying everything on here. Even though you don't get a joystick, so you can't enjoy N64, at least it runs well, which you can't say on here. I've been enjoying mainly playing PS1 games again, and anything that benefits from a stick is nice. And let's not forget that you do get Wi-Fi in the A30, which you do not get in the 28XX, so you can get retro achievements, although in practice so far they've been pretty wonky and don't always trigger, so there's further work to be done there. I like how lightweight the Miyoo A30 is compared to the 28XX, which is slightly heavier. Toss in your pocket. Either work well. I love the color options on this. The rumor is, maybe more than just a rumor, is that Miyoo had stock sitting for a while now, for a few years. And so is the battery going to last long term? Are you going to have to replace this? Are you going to have hardware quality issues down the line? And the battery life in the A30 is just awful. 28XX pulls way ahead in battery life. I wouldn't necessarily rely on this as being your one and only companion device that you carry with you. This one I feel more confident in. Just overall, I love this D-pad. Oh my god, I love the pivot of this D-pad. It feels so good. The mushy rubber membrane buttons. I love the buttons on here, but I wish they were bigger for the face buttons. Nothing wrong with the shoulders, although, you know what? Having the function button on top makes it pretty awkward for those hotkeys. I don't love that. Likewise, on the A30, you got the D-pad, which is just too loose. It's just too loose to really feel accurate, but at least you have bigger face buttons. So it's always such a compromise with these devices. I wish I can kind of combine them to make the perfect device, but with others on the market, like the newly announced Neo micro device, we're gonna have other competitors. Besides that, do you get a 28XX at all when you get the same functionality in this clamshell form factor from the new 35XX SP, which is just freaking awesome. I like rubber membrane, mushy buttons, so that's the one thing that I would enjoy carrying this over this, but having a small screen though does make it a little rough on the eyes. Miyoo A30 has not been performing well. I appreciate it. It's quiet. It's nice to play in bed at night, but I don't know that this is one I'm going to be using long term, really. It doesn't really strike my fancy. I'll let you know if my thoughts change, but in time we might be seeing a much better device here. But as of right now, no thanks. I'm going to stick with my 28XX. This is one I want to take on trips and on the go. And you have a range of custom firmware on here now. You have Knulli, muOS, modified stock, MinUI, Garlic OS. So many options, as well as stock, which performs admirably, by the way. I enjoy stock on here. Put your own games on here, and I think you're going to have just a great time. So those are my quick thoughts. I'd love to know yours. Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay in the know for all of your favorite retro handhelds. And a special thanks to our channel members, patrons, and subs who make all of this possible for us. We really couldn't do this without you. Perks with us start for as little as $3 a month. Join us in our Discord to chat and play games. Check out some of our other videos on the channel, and we'll see you on the next one. In the meantime, this has been Stubbs. Take care of those handhelds, everybody. And each other.